As you can see, there is a bunch of poor people in this picture. And also, you can see that this is in the colors of black, I hope you can see that, and white. So, this must be during, like, I don't know, the 1930s, right? You wouldn't be far off. This photo was taken during the Great Depression, and the only thing that was great about it was people showing their kindness. And foods that were very filling. Note that I said filling and not yummy. Because, would you think casserole is yummy, or would you think popcorn and milk is yummy, or, let's say, spaghetti with some disgusting white sauce but very nutritional on it? Obviously not. Or would you eat the classic Western world tumbleweed? You probably didn't know tumbleweed was edible, right? So in this video, I'm just going to go ahead and explain everything I can about the Great Depression, and I might even add some things about the Dust Bowl as well. As you can see, this is a graph, this is the unemployment rate graph, and we're looking at this section over here. Oof, it doesn't seem to be going that far away, but close enough. Well, at least during this time, the all-time high in 2020 was 15%. But if you take it all the way to 1920, unemployment rate would be so high that it would just jump right off this graph. Now, right before the Great Depression, there was something called the Roaring Twenties. And then, of course, all that was an all-time high. Before this happened. It was pretty much like this. Everything was going up, 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 up. It was the era of literally everything you can imagine. There were pretty much new movie stars. Everyone was buying stocks. You didn't even need money to suddenly get into the stock market. All you had to have was a little debt, and then you go up. And then when the stock was value high enough, you could sell it, and then boom, you could repay your loan, and bam. Problem with that is, the money that was owned, that was the same money that you earned. And obviously, if, well, something happens where everyone tries to sell, everything will go crashing down, right? Well, that's exactly what happened. And so, with stock prices falling down and down and down and down, everyone's going down and down and down and down. Unemployment is going up and up and up and up, which is a bad thing. Wall Street literally crashes in 1929. In 1933, the unemployment rate in the United States of America, the land of the free, is 25%. And the problem isn't just for America. It's for frickin' everyone. And by everyone, I mean literally everyone. All the Americans, the British, the French, the Germans, the Russians. Who cares about the Russians back then? Called the Americans. And all the Africans and the Asians, well, all of them literally had this experience. Oh, and you should also note that these countries, and pretty much all these countries, still haven't really recovered from World War I yet, especially these guys. And really, especially these guys. And then, of course, only the people who own the businesses are able to keep afloat by going ahead and selling their stocks and buying them back and selling them and buying them back. See the problem here? Of course, someone tried to reverse this by buying stocks way overpriced for the time being. Who else would do that except for the owner, the businessman, the CEO of the biggest bank in New York? Which eventually led to a little stabilization. It only lost like 0.83 points at the time. Alright, that number was arbitrary. You should not believe that number until you find a credible source. But then of course everyone is panicking, so no matter how hard you tried, it was going to go down. And then of course the Dust Bowl happened. So what is the Dust Bowl, you ask? I would normally say this is a topic for another video, but I have time to talk about it. And this time, I'm not going to use photos or stock footage, I'm going to use art. Because I really want to. Anyways, Dust Bowl. So the Dust Bowl, of course, happened like this. They kind of started happening, the causes started happening during World War I. Britain and France were, well, all of them needed sweet wheat and grain. But Germany keeps bombing them. What did you think? It's wartime, baby. And so the tea-loving and monocle-wearing and top-hat-wearing British people, who for some reason called bottle of water, and the baguette-wielding, artistic hat with strange mustache people, also known as the French. Well, they all needed baguettes really bad, so they also really needed wheat a lot. And so, where did it look for? The ally across the ocean that protected it from Germany, and had a lot of farms. So obviously the British and the French, they were desperately needing grains, and so America told its farmers, alright, we must grow wheat. And obviously that is not very, very efficient. I mean, even Mojang knows about it. Anywho. So this is what happens when you only grow wheat and not let grass and weeds start rooting the soil in. So you take away the grass, which were holding the soil in by the roots, but now that's all gone. And then you plant in wheat, which doesn't do as good of a job as holding the soil together. So the soil is starting to become a little bit loose. Add that with some extreme heavy rain, which destroyed a lot of crops. Add that with no rain, with a little multitude of, let's say, 8 days. And you can see that your soil is starting to crack. Now this is the fun part where the dust bowl happens. Add some wind, you got a bunch of dust. And after all that dust, well, you got this big disaster. Visibility was near zero. I repeat, near zero. Of course, these states were most affected, and this led to the migration all the way to California. And of course, California had too many migrants, and most of them came from Oklahoma, so they were given the derogatory name Okies. Everyone was lining up for soup, even if it was created by Al Capone. And the ones that, well, couldn't pass by, well, they lived in tents in this insane poverty. Not every American actually believed this existed. When The Grapes of Wrath was published, the Associated Farmers of California called this communist propaganda. Well, then again, the Russians also banned it temporarily because it showed that even the poorest Americans can afford a car. Lots of people then credit that FDR, also known as Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he and his term in presidency, where's Roosevelt? There we go, Roosevelt, with the creation of his New Deal campaign, was able to go ahead and mitigate the destructions of the Dust Bowl, which, by the way, have been cleared away by this point. I was able to get the stock market back on track, and gave so many of these people temporary jobs, just so that they can get back on their feet again. This isn't saying that the New Deal was literally the thing that single-handedly destroyed the Great Depression. No. It was more like, it's just more like one of the causes of mitigating the Great Depression. Of course, then again, we humans never learn. We had another economic crisis in the 2000s. And there's so much about history that we still don't learn about. Maybe we guys don't even learn. So why bother learning this? So we actually don't do it again. Sure, lots of politicians probably say like, it's probably nothing. Because they're all profit-based, profit-greedy. But maybe we might not need a New Deal. In fact, that's probably a little too old-fashioned. But we do not want this again. So in the end, the Great Depression is something that shouldn't happen again, and so we cannot see all these poor people, especially not in America and other developing countries. In all of these continents. Not just America. By America, I'm referring to both North and South America. We don't want another mass migration. And we definitely hope that a New Deal will not be necessary. We don't want to see all these poor people lining up for soup again. So please, politicians, learn from history. And for everyone else who are not politicians, you can do your part too. But until then, you gotta learn history, man. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope to see you guys soon. And so until next time, Shana, peace. Bye-bye.